Dad, how do I become a champion?
Well, son, it's not that easy. It's a long road. A long road full of people that want the same thing as you. Saying you want to be a champion and doing what it takes to become the champion. You must ask yourself, what are you made of? But most importantly, son, who are you? Are you the underdog? The team that just won't quit even with the odds stacked against them? The team that got written off but does not write back? Are you the diamond in the rough? Someone who knows the pain of burning out quick, but they don't let it keep them down. They let it push them forward. Or are you the veteran? The guy that's been to the top of the mountain? The guy that's tasted the glory? The one that everyone calls magic, but you call consistent? Or are you the father? The reason everyone's in the same room? Because you like the standard. You're looking to make a son out of the whole league. Or can you be the nobody? The one everyone counted out, the afterthought. This is the team that has handled their business. They're lucky. They're this, they're that. When last season got grim, you decided to be the Grim Reaper. No, son, there's one more. The one that can bring fear to any man. The Revenge Artist. The one that's tired of being laughed at and scowled upon for coming up short year after year. The manager that will finally not be denied. That will make each team pay even if it means running through the league like a freight train. They want it more than everyone else.
Dad, you're scared.
Shut up! Daddy's recording a promo. It doesn't matter who you are, son. It's all about this road ahead. This road to the championship. And that road is called...
They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king. For the kingdom, king me, checkmate then repeat. This chestnut checkers, what can I say? I got gold jeans.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are here. We're at the playoffs. We're at the football that matters. The teams that are good are finally playing each other. No more trash play. No more Jimmy. We are here. Let's see where we're at. We're going to break down the playoffs. We're going to break down the teams. We're going to meet with my esteemed colleagues to get their opinions on who they think is going to move through these rounds to the championship. I want to introduce you to my team. We're going to meet with Phil Asio. Phil, how you doing? Oh, gosh.
I'm good, Dick. How are you?
Doing well myself, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Happy holidays.
There it is. Mike, how you doing over there in Ohio? You got any snow?
Hello. Good evening. No, unfortunately, no snow up here in Ohio, just playoff caliber football.
There we are. We're ready for it. Let me introduce you to my esteemed colleague. We got Barry McCockiner in the house tonight. How you guys doing?
Hey, Dick. How are you guys doing? I'm glad to be here.
Looking good this week, Barry. Looking good. Glad to have you in-house.
Thank you.
So we're going to start at the top here. Start with the number 1 seed. We're going to break down the teams. We're going to look at who's good, who's bad, who snuck in, and who shouldn't be here. All right, we're going to start with Tallahassee Taint Touchers. Number 1 team in the league. They squeaked that in the final couple weeks of the season, getting that number 1 seed. Got the bye week. How do you guys feel about it? Let me hear from you first, Mike.
Yeah, look, obviously this team is an absolute powerhouse. I would make the argument that this team, this manager, had the best draft in the league. I mean, they got some real gems in Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard. Really, that running back core has what has been kicking this team up to the next level. But they also have some expected contributors in Josh Allen and Jalen Waddle, and I think that cannot be underestimated. Now, if Alvin Kamara can put the pieces together, I think this team could make their way to a championship. But I do got to say something. This team went on quite the hot streak, winning 10 matchups in a row, but they just got a loss this past week. And a loss going into a bye week is some bad momentum to bring into your playoffs.
That's definitely true. How do you handle the bye week when you're in a situation like that, Phil?
I mean, you just got to handle it and be glad you're not playing amongst your peers. I mean, you fought for that bye week. You talk about a loss going into playoffs, loss schmosh. He won 10 in a row, and now you're telling me he gets a free week to rest his players, let them sit, recuperate, and then he's going into a 2-game stretch for championship. All he has to do is win 2 measly games, and he's won 10 in a row. I'd say that's a bet. You know that I've been very high on the Tallahassee taint-touching team all year, and I'm just going to double down on that now. They're a strong competitor. Only need 2 games for the championship. They're looking strong, and I think they have the juice to do it.
Only 3 points from being the top scoring team in the league. Barry, I know you got something good for me. What you got?
Yeah, thanks, Dick. I've been sitting here, watching the game tonight, enjoying some Heineken Zero and some chicken pot pie. And I just have been so impressed by Josh Jacobs, Daniel Carlson, and just this Raider, train that Tallahassee Taint Touchers has been building, plowing right to the playoffs. I think they're going to ride this all the way to a championship victory tonight. And I'm praying to our glorious God and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that they avoid injuries, they avoid all the bye weeks, and they'll be good for next week because I just have so much faith in this team going forward.
Definitely going to be a monster rolling through the playoffs. Like you said, they have that train. They're on the tracks. They are rolling with that Raiders roster that hasn't really put up a good record themselves this season. All right, we're going to move on. I'm looking at Grim Reaper now. One of the best teams in the league coming off a really tough freshman year. But like you say, second year, he's getting moving now. No sophomore slumps. How do you feel about him, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's a good team. There's no way around that. First place in his division, locked it up nice and early. He was really the original Tallahassee Taint Touchers this year. He went on a long winning streak. Now, mind you, his wins weren't quite as convincing. The score wasn't quite as high. But there was a stretch early in midseason where this team looked like the team to beat. I don't think they've quite lost that status. This is still a giant among teams. However, the points don't necessarily reflect that. I've been critical of this team at points in the season. I do believe that if you have a good week, you could probably, take the chance against them. I'm not feeling quite too confident in a manager that has a bye week going into the playoffs that they're going to go too far in the playoffs this season, I have to say.
With that first time playoff experience, it can definitely be shaky for a manager. This manager is a strong 5-0 in his division, but when he has to play that outside division play, we've definitely seen some struggle there. How do you feel on it, Barry?
Yeah, thanks, Dick. And I just want to start off by saying, I've been watching the World Cup a lot lately this month, and I've just been feeling like a Qatari sheik lately. No alcohol, and I'm willing to bet all of my oil money on this team winning the championship. And no migrant workers have to die in the process. This team can win with just clean, good football. When you have Patrick Mahomes, when you have Derrick Henry, man, this team can just do it all. Obviously the loss of Cooper Kupp is a huge, huge factor coming into this. I mean, he hasn't had it for the last couple of weeks though, and he's been faring all right. Got some good performances with Keenan Allen coming back. So I just am feeling so good about this team.
Those number 1 seeds, definitely good. You like to have that when you're going into the playoffs, the bye week, the rest, get your players recuperated. How would you handle this in his situation, Mike?
Look, I would just roll with the guys that got you there, quite simply. I mean, when this team drafted at the start of the season, I said they picked one of the most underrated players in fantasy football. That was Patrick Mahomes. Really, everybody forgot about him. They got caught up with Justin Herbert, with Josh Allen, and understandably so. But Patrick Mahomes is still a force to be reckoned with. They also have some gems they got later in the draft, being Christian Kirk and Adam Thielen, which I think is fine for a flex spot. I think they can afford in this bye week to do some searching on the waiver wire, see what lies ahead for the following week, and just see what they can contribute to their roster to really put them over the top.
I definitely think that's a good opinion on this team. Like you said, having the best quarterback helps you kind of work through that season. I've heard it many times throughout this conversation with league owners around. Patrick Mahomes is a force to be reckoned with. You don't want to deal with that when you're getting into the playoffs. The next team we're going to look at is Eric Kilpatrick. 9-4 record. They've been on a roll as of late, winning 5 games in a row, knocking off a team on a 10-game win streak. Barry, I want to hear from you first. What you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, this team has just been getting hot at the right time. I don't know if it's the Christmas spirit in the air. I know it's been getting to me. I've been sitting down with some non-alcoholic eggnog, doing some Christmas caroling, going to church, and I just feeling so jolly about this team's chances as we come into December. Like you said, they're just things are clicking for them right now. I think they have a great shot this week. Looking at some of the plays, Darius Slayton, a really interesting one. He's been really good lately. I like the trust that the manager has in him. I think, he's going to put those wits to good use this week. I think they might have a good chance. I'm just feeling so jolly about this one.
It's definitely here in the holiday season right now. I'm glad you got some time with the family, sipping on that nog. It's definitely the best time of the year right now. I want to hear from you next, Phil. You got anything good for me?
Yeah, I mean, we all know this is a good team. Now, he was amongst stiff competition, and I say very stiff competition, during the regular season. And he finally separated himself from the pack and cemented himself as the number 2 seed in the division. So we know that core of players, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce. This manager did not know when they were drafting. I guarantee you, the gem that they got in Jalen Hurts. He has really emerged this season, become a cemented top 5 quarterback. This team is strong. I look at them as a strong competitor, especially in the first round. I expect them to advance, and I even have them going into my final championship round. So that kind of explains a little bit about that.
I definitely see where you're going with that. This team is 5-0 at home. When they're playing somebody at home, they're not really going to let down those fans. They're at home again this week. I kind of expect the same to continue. What do you feel on it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, this team has just really come on in the second half of the season. And what better way to make a statement to the league than to knock down the projected number 1 team in the Tallahassee Taint Touchers? I mean, this team is rolling right now. I thought their path to the playoffs was tough, and they took that path in stride. Look, they have some really big boom-bust players on their roster. Many of which we talked about. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce, any of them can win you a given week. I think some of the other options on this roster can be a bit shaky, especially at this time in the season. Brandon Ayuk came on in the second half of the season, but now with a new quarterback at center, I think it's a little bit of a risky play. Deonta Foreman also had some really big games for this team, but another new quarterback behind center. So it really remains to be seen how those roles will take shape in the playoffs. So this will be certainly an interesting team to watch.
A lot of shifting going on in the league right now. Definitely something we'll have to see how it plays out. Kind of locking up that 4 seed, hopefully playing that lower seed in the playoffs, or that 3 seed, I'm sorry, and playing that lower seed in the playoffs helps with that first round matchup. Next, we're going to look at a team that I've been really high on this year, and you're a wizard, Spina. They call him the waiver wizard. This guy knows how to hit the waivers. He knows who to look for. He has that sneaky target all the time. Slid in the playoffs. Another year. How do you feel on him, Mike?
Yeah, look, I've always been very, very high on this team. This was one of my preseason picks to make the championship. And once again, they're in the playoffs, their 3rd time. I think their experience is really going to help them. This is the only manager in the playoffs that's done it before, that's taken home the championship. I think their roster is only as good as the teams that they make up, and that would mostly be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers. So they've really kind of put all their eggs in one basket with those, but it's paid off for them so far, and I think it will continue to pay off for them in the playoffs.
If you give me Tom Brady and Kyle Shanahan to lead my team, I'm going to take that either way. I'm not going to turn that down, really. Now, I know you're pretty high on this team, Barry McCocken over there. How do you feel on them going through the playoffs here?
I mean, wow, Dick. God damn it. Excuse me. Dang flabbit. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Does the FCC, they don't watch these, do they? Or okay. I'm so sorry. I am just loving this team. I'm loving the manager. It's so gritty. I heard they even picked up Matt Breida today just because Saquon Barkley was on the injury report. I mean, that is just next level. And I just respect the things that this manager has done all season long. And like Mike said, you know, to know how to win is the most important thing. To know how to play your cards right, to take the right risks as we get into the playoffs. That's what's really going to shine through, I think, for this manager, give him the experience to, make a run at it. I think it's a good point. They do rely a lot on the 49ers and the Buccaneers, but I just think that with the experience they have, they'll make it all the way.
I definitely have them going pretty far in this playoffs myself. Next, we're going to look at a team that probably shouldn't be seated where they are. The highest scoring team in the league. They had quite a few losses this year. How do you feel on them over there, Barry?
Yeah, I mean, points and, sometimes in life, you don't always have to have the nicest things to be the most successful. It's all about being humble. It's all about working hard. So even if you score the most points, you still have to do the hard work that the Lord has tasked you with, and that is winning these games. And Duval Diamonds, they put up a lot of points, and they've been flashy at times, but at the end of the day, if I could speak to this manager heart to heart, man to man, God-loving man to God-loving man, I would just say, just trust your team as we get to this point in the playoffs, because you're here for a reason. You are here for a reason. You better take advantage of it, sir. I know you can.
That range true. Everyone's here for some specific reason. If that reason could be to lose in the first round, they've served their purpose. Now, I'm not wrong there, I feel. Phil, how do you feel on this team working through the playoffs? They put up a lot of points. Can they do that consistently through the playoffs?
No, I agree with Shiny Berry. I mean, this team has been flashy at points, and even their team itself, the flashy players. If you look at the running back depth on this team, the flex depth, there's a lot of it there. But my main concerns with this team are quarterback health, first and foremost, and then the fact that they haven't been able to string together many wins in the season. So the major problem is going to be consistency. You see teams like the Tallahassee Taint Touchers, Grim Reaper, able to go on 7-game, 10-game winning streaks. And this is a team that has not demonstrated the ability to do that, even though they may be up to the task of handling any given team at any given time. Is the consistency issue that worries me. So I do have them struggling in the playoffs.
The most important position in football is the quarterback. Without that, I don't see him going very far. Jared Goff is not someone I want to ride into the playoffs with. Mike, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, historically being one of the highest teams scoring ever, they sure are making winning look hard. I mean, just above 500 to finish the regular season, losing on the way into the playoffs to the absolute worst team in the league. It's a tough look, quite frankly. But I'm not going to say this decision defines them. This is the moment where we will find out what Duval Diamonds is made of. All right? They lost Lamar Jackson. Well, they've been stashing Jared Goff. Jared Goff has a favorable matchup this week. Just balled last week. The Lions' offense has been moving. So while I do think a lot is tied up in that quarterback position, I think the real story here is that trade they made a few weeks ago with 1-2 to acquire Marquise Brown and George Kittle. We're going to find out with both teams this week whether that trade was the right move to make. It's going to pay off for one or the other, or maybe they're both going to be worse off for that trade, but we're going to find out this week if that kind of a move was a championship caliber move to make.
Now, speaking of that big trade, we definitely saw that it was going to shake up the league. Barry, you were one of the first to report that a big trade was likely to come. Do you have anything else to add on these two teams?
Yeah, Dick. I mean, when you're looking at 1-2, I mean, this is a team that they've done a lot of trades. They made a lot of moves, and that's all great and all. But when I look at it, this team makes me laugh. And as you guys know, I love a good chuckle. And I look at some of the names on this team. You look at what even is a Zonovan Knight or a Pat Fryermuth or a Cordero Patterson, Cameron Dicker. I've never heard of things like this. It just makes me so joyful inside. And then my favorite, of course, Ezekiel Elliott. And if you don't know this, guys, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you're studying this. Ezekiel means God's strength. And I think 1-2 has really been harnessing God's strength in this time. And I think, God has been leading him to do these trades. And I just feel like it's going to pay off. I don't know why. I just feel like it's going to pay off for him. I really do.
Amen, my brother. Yes,
Amen.
sir. That
Amen.
leads me right into my next point. We're going to talk about that final team kind of snuck in the playoffs there. Had a chance to not make it in that final week of the season. Beat out Jeffrey Dahmer. We have 1-2 sneaking in there. How do you feel on him, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, 1-2 is a sneaky case. He started the year really hot and then had a series of unfortunate losses. I think back to what Mike said regarding Duval Diamonds in the massive trade, and I totally agree with that. I don't think there was a loser to that trade. I think that there was two pieces exchanged that helped each team, and I really believe that that did influence the way the seeds were and everything else. This team is good, and I think that they will play up to their standards. Unfortunately, playing Eric Kilpatrick in the first round is going to be incredibly tough for this team. I think they have good pieces. I think they are capable of playing, caliber football that you want to see. But I don't see them going too far in the playoffs.
I don't see it very well either. When that 6th seed, you kind of have to go on a crazy run right there. You compare him to, I'd say, Eli Manning with the Giants. Wouldn't you say yourself, Mike?
Look, I mean, here's the thing about Eli Manning. He's got 2 championships, all right? And I think this is a smart manager, one of the better all-time records in the league, a pretty consistent team, seeing they've made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. And while it was an easy path last year, it was a not-so-easy path this year. I wouldn't say they snuck into the playoffs, seeing as the lowest seeding they ever were was 7, and that was for 1 week. The interesting thing about this roster is this manager isn't afraid of turnover. They're not afraid to send guys out, to cut guys, to trade guys, whatever may have you. You would be shocked to know that the entire roster that 1-2 drafted, only 26% of that roster is still a part of the team right now. This manager makes moves when they have to. I think they're very savvy with the moves they make, especially for having, I think, the most injured team in the league this year. I don't think this is their year for a championship, but, hats off for still punching their ticket into the playoffs, and I think they might put up a fight. We'll see.
I can definitely see them making some noise in the first round. Now, you mentioned all the moves they've made this season. The question comes up, did they trade away a better record if they would have kept that original roster? Now, we see teams like Tallahassee Taint Touchers keeping that original nucleus together. We see teams like Eric Kilpatrick keeping that core together, having real strong records, making runs into this playoffs. It's just a question to ask going into next season as we look at the draft. Barry, you got any thoughts for me?
Yeah, Dick, and like you said, people, players, life, it comes and goes, and you just have to be willing to, stick with your gut. And I firmly believe that all men are created equal. So whether you drop one player for another, trade one away, that man is no less than the man that you've given up. I mean, let's be real. I just think that, whatever the manager feels in his heart, whatever is guiding him to make that decision, I just think that you have to trust that feeling. You really do.
I definitely see where you're coming from with that. That's a good way to put it all. And it's a good way to end it tonight here, I think, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next round in this little get-together we're having here, this little panel. We're going to break down the brackets. We're going to see who's in, who's moving on, who's round 2, and we're going to crown our champion here tonight. We're going to see who these analysts think are going to take it all the way. We're going to be right back with that after these messages.
Goes out to my man Calvin Klein, good looking out for the drawers. Not saying I would do another Fruit of the Loom commercial or nothing like that, because they don't make the hype shorts. These are the 90s, man. They just fit good and they hold me snug. So if I'm about to go get some skins, I'm not going to put on like no silk underwear. Oh, she got freckles. Next question. No, the best protection against AIDS is to keep your Calvins on. Now that could definitely come between me and my Calvins. Do you have Calvin Klein underwear on?
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from that break. I appreciate you staying with us here. I am back with my esteemed colleagues. Does anyone know where Barry's at?
That was an actor. That was an actor.
Oh, good.
That was an actor. You can't keep me away from live television.
All right. Barry.
That was unfair what you did. I've been doing this for 30 years. You're trying to hire a better Barry? There's no better Barry. I'm the real Barry. Glad to be here, Dick. How you been?
Good to see you. It's good to see you, Barry. I'm glad to see you're back from your little short break there. I think that was 5 or 10 minutes after that commercial. And let's go ahead and get rolling here. We're going to go ahead and break down some brackets, get into some predictions, and see what these esteemed BSPN colleagues think is going to happen in this year's playoffs. Let's go ahead and get into it. With our first bracket, I want to talk to Phil Acio here, see what your thoughts are at, and kind of pick your brain. Who is in your first round victories?
I'm glad you asked me first, and I should be speaking first in general. But now that you asked, I will say that, the first round is going to be tough. There's a lot of good competitors. So for the first game, we have the matchup against Duval Diamonds and Euro Wizard Spina. It's going to be a tough matchup. They're very close teams. In the end, I have Spina taking the matchup. We've had some low-scoring games by the Duval Diamonds as of late. As speaking in the playoffs in general, he's had trouble stringing together multiple wins at a time throughout the season. So I think it's going to ultimately come down to that, as well as, an injury to the quarterback position. Spina has taken advantage of matchups all year long when they are correct for him, and I'm looking for him to do that again in the first round. For the second game, we have Team 1-2 versus Eric Kilpatrick. Eric Kilpatrick has rekindled his flame that he had earlier in the season, a powerhouse in the league. Multiple wins in a row. I think he's, at six wins in a row? I don't want to be incorrect here, but he is really taken advantage of his matchups lately, pulled multiple games ahead of competition in his regular season campaign. I'm looking for him to take the win in the first round. With a 9-4 regular season, that's really good. I'm looking for him to advance to the second round.
All right, Phil, a little long-winded. Save some words for everyone else here. How you doing tonight, Barry? I can see you're doing well for sure. You're barely wearing that shirt.
I'm doing better now that I've actually gotten out here. I can't believe you fuckwads tried to hire.
All right, Barry, let's go ahead and let's make some picks now, Barry. Let's make some picks. We got first round. We got 1-2 against
Look,
Eric
here's the
Kilpatrick.
first round. I'm telling you as it is. The standings are set. What you see is how we're getting into the playoffs. Taint Touchers, Grim Reaper getting the bye. Duval Diamonds is going to lose to your Spina, and 1-2 is beating Eric Kilpatrick.
Can someone get Barry a water here for me? And let's go ahead and cut his mic for the night. So moving on, we got my buddy over there in Ohio. We got Phil Acio. How do you see 1-2 faring in this first round?
Slight correction there, Dick. My name is Mike Oxlong. And looking at these first round matchups, I think we have some really intriguing just competitive natures to get into. I mean, with Duval Diamonds and your Wizard Spina, look, we have a manager that's been there before, that knows what it's like to win a championship. And then we have a manager who has chosen a diamond to be the metaphor for their team this season. And the thing about diamonds is they are created under pressure, which is contradictory to what this manager has done in this league. They do not perform under pressure. I do not think they're going to make it past the first round, unfortunately. That injury to Lamar Jackson in Week 13 is just going to be quite the kicker for them, unfortunately. And I think your Wizard Spina has some awfully favorable matchups. When it comes to the other matchup, which is Eric Kilpatrick and 1-2, 1-2 has quite a few teams on bye. Eric Kilpatrick has some of the most explosive players in the league right now. So I think Eric Kilpatrick is going to win this matchup, but I think this is going to be a shootout. I think both managers are going to be sweating it out late in the Sunday night.
Definitely going to be some good matches this weekend. Like you said, Duval Diamonds pretty beat up right now, missing that quarterback. If they lose in the first round, they will be the only team in league history to be the highest scoring team to lose in the first round. That's something that I think they could do to stamp their name in the record book, because that seems to be the only way they're going to do it this year. I think they're out, and I think 1-2 is going to put up a real shit show this week with all those teams on bye. Now, I did hear through the grapevine that the commissioner might be considering extending that season by 1 week. I'm not sure of any league results yet, but it's something we could hear by the start of next season. Let's go ahead and look at round 2. So if we're looking at most projections, I think we're all in agreement here that 1-2 is going to lose in that first round, and that Duval Diamonds is going to the dump in that first round. Everyone with an opinion. I'm sorry, Barry. So we're going to look at that in that factor, in that light. 1-2 would be out. Team Spina would be moving on. He'd be playing Keller Kilpatrick and that Tallahassee Taint Touchers team. That's a scary roster to go against right now. Who you guys have winning that round?
Yeah, look, if it's your Wizard Spina against the Tallahassee Taint Touchers, I think it's going to be a very, very, very close matchup. But if there's one person that's been prepping for this moment out of all managers, it would be your Wizard Spina. So I actually have your Wizard Spina pulling the upset in that matchup.
Upset alert. Wow, Tallahassee Taint Touchers losing in the playoffs again. A team that has never missed it and never lost in the first round, but he's going to have a second round loss. What do you think about it, Phil?
I mean, to me, it sounds like Mike's made a couple bets on this team in past years, and they've kind of fallen short for him. It seems like, when you look at it on paper, this team is high scoring. They're within, a couple points of league high score for the year. They're a powerhouse. They went on a 10-game. What is their winning streak?
10-game winning streak, best ever.
So, I mean, when you look at that, it's kind of hard to say that they'll lose their next one. Honestly, you go 10-10-10-10-10, lose. No, I'm not going to be the first to call that. This is a powerhouse manager. I see him advancing past your Wizard Spina.
Now, don't forget, Tallahassee Taint Touchers did lose their final match of the season, ending that win streak as we get into the playoffs here. They're no longer with that one. The longest win streak sitting with Eric Kilpatrick right now. Now, what do you think about this matchup, Barry?
Well, I think you guys are wrong about Spina going to the next round, but Taint Touchers is going to win and be in the championship because their team is really good.
Quite an opinion there. He's got a lot of facts behind it, and he came prepared tonight. You can definitely tell that. So we're going to look at the other side of the bracket there. With that reseeding, we would have Eric Kilpatrick taking on Grim Reaper. This is a rematch we've seen from the regular season where Grim Reaper wiped the floor with Eric Kilpatrick. How do you see this one going, Barry?
Again, you're wrong. 1-2 is getting to the second round, but that doesn't matter because the Grim Reaper is going to win. That's right. Both number 1 seeds will be in the championship. That's a Barry McCockiner guarantee.
All right. Again, something that has never been done before. Never had 2 number 1 seeds in this championship. I don't see it happening this year. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's had some drinking today and, he's having trouble with his words. When you look at the teams, and we've heard this from multiple managers throughout the year, lucky, matchup based. That's what we've heard about the Grim Reaper. We look at the regular season as far as points scored. We see Eric Kilpatrick with over 100 more points on the season than Grim Reaper. That's a whole extra game. He outscored him by a whole extra game over the course of the season. Lately, he's been heating up. I think if the regular season was longer, it'd probably be more than that, honestly, just a few game stretch. I'm seeing Sam roll past this one, and he has a great team. He's done a great job with this club, Eric Kilpatrick, and I'm seeing them get to the championship round.
Yeah, it's definitely how I'm seeing it shake out this year. I see an upset in that round right there. I do not see Grim Reaper making it past that playoff one. First time in the playoffs, not a lot of experience, gonna crumble under that pressure. That's what I'm seeing. What about you, Mike?
Look, I think this might be the toughest single match to call of the entire season. It's going to be a close one, right? I think some factors to take into account. The quarterback for Grim Reaper is Patrick Mahomes. The tight end for Eric Kilpatrick is Travis Kelce. Now, with our current scoring format, a touchdown is worth more on the receiving end than it is for the quarterback end. So I think there's room for disparity right there. And it's on paper a tough matchup against the Houston Texans. Why is it a tough matchup? The Houston Texans aren't that good. Well, it's because teams get up early and those quarterbacks get taken out, right? So I think there's room here for Eric Kilpatrick to kind of squeak out a win. That being said, we still haven't seen what this team looks like with Mark Andrews and Tyler Huntley at quarterback, right? This could completely change the dynamic for the matchup. But as it stands right now, I think Eric Kilpatrick is moving on to the championship.
Wow, definitely some big upsets here. Isn't it upset if we all pick it? I don't know about that one. Instead of looking at how we get here and who's going to be in the championship, I'm just going to go around here. We're going to see who your champion is for this season. That's all I want to hear. Barry, that's all I want to hear. All right, we'll go ahead and listen to you first, Phil.
Hey, man, I'm glad you asked. I projected it before the season started. I told everyone around draft time that my team for the year was the Tallahassee Tank Touchers. I was riding 10 toes down. And that's still here today. I'm going to keep the same story, keep the same energy. I think Tallahassee Tank Touchers is going to run up against Eric Kilpatrick in the playoffs, in the championship, and they're going to wipe the floor with them. That's ultimately how I see it. This manager's finally going to get that sweet nectar of victory, maybe a ring, maybe nothing, probably nothing. But he will have the bragging rights for years to come. So that's what I'm looking at.
Would be a huge matchup. The third time that Eric Kilpatrick and Tallahassee Tank Touchers have played this season. It's pretty big right there. A lot of expectations going into this championship. Barry, what do you have for me?
Look, when you boil it down, football is about one position, the quarterback. And one team has the best quarterback in the league, and that's the Grim Reaper. He is going to kill Tallahassee Tank Touchers.
Number one, taking down number one right there. It looks like he's taking down the rest of that drink. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and hear from my buddy up in Ohio. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, look, my preseason prediction was that we were going to see Eric Kilpatrick and your Wizard Spina in the championship, and that's exactly how I see it playing out, as I've predicted here on the show. And in that championship, I see your Wizard Spina taking the second title, the first two-time champion in this league, the league to still be renamed. But yes, they're going to take that crown back pretty convincingly, I think.
First two-time champion, that repeat offender, as you would put it in that way. He's going to go back there, I think. He's got a great team. Now, if I'm not wrong, when I watched that meeting for a manager, I thought Eric Kilpatrick predicted playing Team Spina in the championship this year. Now, I'm sure Eric Kilpatrick predicted the win, but I think it's going to go differently. I think Team Spina's riding out to the championship. He's got a real good roster right now. He's getting healthy. They got that nucleus together, and I heard they're having fun in the locker room, boys, putting the ping pong table back in, having a good old time. You got anything else to add there, Mike?
Yeah, as you alluded to with that interview on our wonderful network, the manager of Eric Kilpatrick did predict that he'd be in the championship with your Wizard Spina, and I think if that actually winds up being the case, that might be worth investigating.
Collusion! Just like y'all colluded to kick me out of the fucking the Writers Club, but I'm a part of a union, okay?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me. Y'all have a great night. It was good to see you guys, and we'll see who comes out in the championship. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble.